The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Your golf game starts with Edwin Watts Golf Shop.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Are you ready? Yes!
Now live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Oh, good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the New York Strip at Kessler Prime and the Renaissance. Visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Hot tamales, bacon, side of scallops. New York Strip, KesslerPrime.com. We are the Out of Bounds Show on 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. You can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. We'll go to the phones here in just a second. Twitter handle @BoBounds. Ag Up Equipment, Mississippi Ag text line is 601-885-3776. Urban Meyer, who's a dirtbag, but a phenomenal coach, was fired yesterday, less than a year into his tenure with the Jacksonville Jaguars. His track record is incredible of both winning games and treating people poorly. I don't know where he ends up. I think that we're all fascinated with people who are successful and also throw up all over themselves. Urban has done a great job of that. At Florida, at Ohio State. Of course, he won titles there. And now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he made one mistake after another. I think he can absolutely, that somebody will hire him again. I do wonder if people want to work under him. The rumor, or I don't think it's a rumor anymore. The word on the street is that Urban treats everybody like crap.
Did you see the interaction with his former assistant coach, Mike Vrabel, after Vrabel beat him 20-0 or whatever it was? Yeah, 20-0.
That didn't look like they were going to go and head out to a steakhouse and enjoy a glass of bourbon and a ribeye together.
That looked like you and Jackson, just frosty.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. You guys are friends.
Wow.
No.
You're just trying to make...
I'm just trying to stir the pot.
You are.
That's right.
You are.
I should have said,
that.
you know what I should have said was it's you and Chris Brooks. That would have been a better analogy.
See?
People would have gotten it.
It's actually you and Chris Brooks, but you're adding me. Go ahead. I think here's
it
where
is not super hard to get to Omaha.
Why are you trying to do that to Brooks? He was on Monday or Tuesday and did a good job.
Yeah, he did.
I could see Urban Meyer. I don't think he's going to get a blue blood job. Now I could be wrong. But I will say this: I've got a place that I think you could drop him, and he could do very, very well. It's a program that should be in the top 15, on the back half of the 15. Blake.
Okay.
All right.
10 to 20, kind of give or take.
Yes,
float
that's a better way to put it.
Float somewhere in 10 to 20.
Yeah, which means every now and then, if you have the right QB, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah,
you scoop up.
You can go like
absolutely
right. Ole Miss is number 7 or 8 in the country right now. They would have made the college football playoff if we had what we're going to have in a couple of years. This program where Urban Meyer, I think you could drop him, and he could make it. He's probably only going to be about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
because like you said, he burns hot.
It seems to be that he's burning hotter and shorter every step.
He is. Yeah. And I think he's lost his way. Doesn't really, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a sports, well, maybe I am, but I'm a sports talk radio host.
A little bit of that motivation factor seems to be gone or something. I don't know.
He seems to be kind of drifting off into a spot that is
senility.
Well, I hope not, even if he is a dirtbag. Arizona State. Herm Edwards is trying to get run off by the NCAA.
Yeah, he is.
And Who was the guy's name that you get?
Zach Hill.
Zach Hill is their offensive coordinator, and Auburn compliance didn't. Auburn wanted to hire him, and he couldn't pass their compliance. I mean, at Auburn, it's as long as you haven't killed somebody. I mean, this is the SEC.
Yeah, actually, you probably could kill somebody. You just have to have a good reason.
Zach Hill. Did you say Zach Hill?
Zach Hill.
Okay, because his OC numbers are ridiculous. He's an absolute assassin, and he could not pass Auburn compliance to take that job. That's all you need to know. Let's go to the phones. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line. Kobe would like to weigh in on one of the topics, I hope, from today.
Oh, yeah, fellas. Good morning. Good morning on the way into the office. I was going to first answer your question about what does this mean for recruiting in football with Deion poaching the kid from FSU. All this means is the playing field, NIL has leveled the playing field. And if you find a coach that can convince the kid that I can make you money or teach you how to market yourself and make money before you get to the league, even if your draft stock do drop, we're going to get you paid before you get there. And look who Deion is. Don't forget, he was the first one on draft day with a gold chain, shades, and cameras. So he has that to lean on as far as I can teach you kids how to market yourselves. Watch me. Look at my sons. How are they doing? And that's an advantage he got over Lane Kiffin, Dabo Swinney, every single one of them. So, yeah, they mad because of what he doing. But you got to charge it to the game. It's all fair in love and war, and recruiting is war. If you don't like it, you better find a way to hire a marketing specialist to teach you how to tell them how to market themselves, because this generation, all they care about is Twitter, Facebook, social media, and how they look toward other people. And Deion is a pro at that. Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest of all time. But one thing I think this is planning to take him, I said a long time ago, and I've been preaching it, he'll be legendary if he takes Jackson State to a Power 5 or even G5 conference. And I think this is setting the stage for that. He gets recruits like this, they already rolling in, but if they keep coming in, it's going to be a Power 5 or G5 conference, and they're sending us an invitation to come get some more money that the SWAC can't offer. So that's just my opinion, and we'll leave Urban Meyer alone. As you said, he's burnt out. We're burnt out on him. Who cares?
All right, thanks for the call, Kobe. I appreciate it. Kobe joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line. Kobe's excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jackson State's not going to the Power 5. Their window to the G5, I guess, would be the Sun Belt. Would be their best opportunity.
No, it'd be CUSA. Sun Belt's moving up, baby. CUSA's behind the Sun Belt now.
Well, what I meant, though, is that would be the best option.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably a long shot. Because, again, I don't know how sustainable this is or how long Coach Prime is staying. I mean, if you thought Lane Kiffin was looking around at the end of the season and talking to Sexton about trying to get one of those 3 or 4 big jobs, and now we've already got our text line throwing Lane Kiffin into the Jacksonville Jaguars job. But, Deion would love a bigger, better job.
Who wouldn't?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Dabo Swinney reunion with Trevor Lawrence? I'm just kidding. He's going to Oakland. Well, Las Vegas now.
Oh, you had Dabo maybe going to Jacksonville.
Did you see his latest comments?
No.
About the dirtiness of college football and how lost it is?
Dabo's?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
The one of
Lane
the funniest
went there a little bit yesterday too.
One of the funniest. We'll listen to Lane's comments on NIL on the other side of this.
Okay, name, image, likeness from Lane Kiffin coming up.
One of the funniest things on Message Board Geniuses yesterday, which again, if you're on Twitter, even if you're not, go make a Twitter.
From the Twitters.
Just go watch Message Board Geniuses. Clemson fans touting the mantra that their signing class is small because they don't cheat like all the other big boys do.
Oh, good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Superior Foundation. It's also brought to you by Cypress Depot in Ridgeland, the leading supplier of cypress and hardwoods in the southeast. CypressDepot.com. That's CypressDepot.com. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone, ESPN.
You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, fueled by Fleetway Market. Whether you're on the road to the tailgate or headed up to hunting camp, stop by Fleetway Market to fuel up the car and the cooler today.
You need cooling, baby, I'm not fooling. I'm gonna send you back to schooling. Way down inside, honey, you need it. I'm gonna give you my love.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. Day after signing day hangover for some of you. Good and bad. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Brought to you by Bulldog Burger. Delicious burgers. Bulldog Burger in Ridgeland. And Starkville and Tupelo. We're giving away an amazing Christmas feast, Christmas meal that feeds 8 to 10 through Fleetway Market. And, it's everything. Protein, sides, desserts, cornbread or rolls. And, again, feeds up to 8 to 10 people. Some of the most underrated food in the metro, the Market Cafe at Fleetway Market. This is valued up to $150. If you want to enter to possibly win, just show us that you have the Out of Bounds radio app on any of the platforms we're on. We'll have Steve Palazzolo coming up next on Dak Prescott's slump and the Cowboys' offense slump. They can't run the football, and Dak is not looked good, which in turn, y'all know the deal. I mean, he's the guy that makes all the magic happens, and if he's not rolling, then they're not rolling. They went up and manhandled the Washington football team because their defense just dominated the game. So Dak did not play well, and neither did the offense. And like I said, they can't run the football, so, they got to sling it to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Gallup. And maybe they're missing Dalton Schultz more than people thought they would. Zeke Elliott averaging, for the most part, less than 4 yards a carry.
Yeah, and now Tony Pollard dealing with plantar fasciitis. Gotta love that.
Yeah, that sounds, I don't want any of that either. So anyway, we'll talk to Steve Palazzolo about that, senior analyst, PFF.com, Pro Football Focus. Lane Train had his press conference yesterday afternoon. This is like the first phase. There's more to do here with recruiting. Transfer portal, February 3rd, all that. But he talked about name, image, likeness. This was Lane Kiffin yesterday.
I said it yesterday. You're in free agency, that there are no contracts. So, I really hope for these kids, they get all the money that they're being promised at all these schools when they get there, because there's a lot of money being promised. So I hope for them that they get it, because it is unique. These guys get promised all this money to come places, but they don't have a contract, which in free agency, obviously you would. In the NFL, know that you were guaranteed to get paid what you're being told you're going to get paid.
That was Lane Kiffin on name, image, likeness.
That was an interesting take to it.
It was very, very interesting, and he sounded to be a 10-2 coach, which is an unbelievable record.
Yeah.
At Ole Miss, and to be going to the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
And to have a first-round pick in the NFL draft in Matt Corral. And they signed some good players yesterday. But you could tell he was frustrated and in a bad mood. Now, if they land 8 transfers that they feel like can help them, different deal.
Does he tell the kids he's recruiting the same thing? It's like, watch out when you sign these NIL deals with our guys, because you never know if you're going to get paid. What a weird take for a coach who is doing the same thing that all these other people are doing. That felt you remember when Brad Bohannon was like, "Oh, we're just poor Alabama baseball. We can't get the cool things that Mississippi State has.
Yeah, and he's got a very motivated alumni base. So it's a weird.
It was so odd.
It was weird, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe he was frustrated on a few players. He obviously likes a lot of them, and look, they wanted to sign more than that. So the whole thing of we're on the right number. Ole Miss would have signed more players. They would have signed Otis,
and Clayton.
They would have signed Trevion Williams. They would have signed Clayton, and they would have signed Percy Lewis, and maybe some more. But so we can run the numbers both ways. We know of at least 5 guys they would have signed if they could. Now the talk is we're going to go even heavier into the transfer portal. I don't know. Is it 10 guys?
Ooh,
could be.
That's a large because you don't go to the transfer portal for people who aren't ready to contribute at some level on day one, right? The theory is when you go to the transfer portal that this person can compete in the 2 deep and maybe do more than that. So if you're going to get 10 guys in the portal, you're telling me next year's team, next year's top 30 players, 10 of them will be transfer portal players? Woo. That's a tough number.
Yeah. And if you can pull it off, what does that mean for the future? Right? Because it's not going to apply to the top, 6, 7, 8 schools?
No, they're signing the elite of the elite.
So MSU and Ole Miss are in that next tier. At times they operate as a top 15, top 20, top 25 college football program, even with being in the biggest shark-infested waters in college football. So my question is at Ole Miss, MSU, Arkansas, OK State. Trying to think of some others, Blake. I guess maybe like Wisconsin.
I would put any school that isn't consistently top 15 in recruiting, is in the position to take advantage of the portal.
And can you do it? And my question is whether it's Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, MSU, South Carolina type programs when running really well, can you build a big chunk of your roster through the portal? Is that what we're going to see?
What's a big chunk, I guess, is the question too. Yeah. I say 10 out of if you're putting 10 guys in a year in the portal, if you're bringing in 10 portal guys in a calendar year, that's a large percentage to me. That seems like a big number.
Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Or is it, though? It seems like a big number because it's new to us.
It's true.
Will it not be a big number 4 years from now? That could absolutely be the case. And does an Auburn need to go that direction? Boy, did Auburn make a move or what yesterday?
Florida does, because Florida's 14th in recruiting. They're behind Vanderbilt. They're 50th in the country.
Are they really?
That's according to 247.
Good grief.
Yeah.
I thought Clemson had a bad day.
State is number 10 at 22. South Carolina is number 23. That's 11th in the SEC. Ole Miss is 24th. That's 12th in the SEC. Vanderbilt's like 30th, which is 13th in the SEC. And Florida is 5-0.
Okay. They only have 10 commits. I got
Correct.
it. But they look like good players. Five 4 stars, 1 5 star.
But you still have attrition numbers. Napier's going to have a little bit of a
They'll
hole.
go transfer portal.
Yep. He'll have to dig out of a little bit of a player personnel hole.
And Lane didn't sign a quarterback. Now, I know he's going to get a quarterback in the transfer portal, but they have yet to sign a high school quarterback. Some people are talking about two. Also, real quick, Mississippi flavor at Auburn. One of the best players to ever play at Southern Miss, Austin Davis.
Who?
Austin, my main man Davis, that Sylvester Croom passed on.
That's right.
Okay. Is he out of West Lauderdale over in Meridian?
I think that's right.
Okay. He's a hell of a baseball player too, right?
Cup of coffee in the NFL.
Man, they can produce them over there. Jay Powell, all kinds of dudes. Of course, Meridian Community College for a while, I don't know if they still are, were really, really good. Austin Davis, the next offensive coordinator at Auburn.
War Beagle.
Yes.
He was the Seahawks quarterback coach.
Yeah, I saw. We've talked about him before. He was the Seahawks QB coach.
Now he's at Auburn.
Yeah. All right. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by the Spray and Bedliners Lift Kits, Tires, and Wheels at RPT and Rick's Pro Truck in Gluckstadt, Lakeland Drive, Flowood, and RPT Commercial, Highway 80 East in Pearl. Steve Palazzolo coming up next.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by the Premium Cigars at Havana Smoke Shop. Visit their 2 locations, I-55 in Jackson and on the Res, for your premium cigar needs. Only at Havana Smoke Shop.
Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the BankPlus Studio.
Check it out.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by your next John Deere tractor at Ag Up Equipment, Mississippi Ag, 16 locations, agup.com. Manage your land, your farm, your hunting camp with the John Deere tractor from Ag Up Equipment, agup.com. Want to welcome you in. Our guests join us on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. And big news breaking yesterday, Urban Meyer gone, out. Didn't even complete a season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 3-time national championship coach at Florida and Ohio State. It was a train wreck from the jump, starting with the hire of the strength and conditioning program, and then one thing after another. So we bring in senior NFL analyst Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. Steve, what was your reaction and the PFF reaction when you heard the news on Urban Meyer?
I mean, I think it just had to happen at this point. It's unbelievable how many bad things happened. I mean, it's really incredible how many things just stacked up that were bad, you know, and it's like, what were the top 5 worst things of the Urban Meyer era? I mean, it's like a legitimate discussion. And, you know, just recently kicking a player and, you know, the way he doesn't seem like the most personable guy, and it clearly wasn't working in Jacksonville. And the team's been horrible. And I think when you're Shad Khan and you're the owner, you have to look at this and say, man, our hope is in Trevor Lawrence, right? He's the guy that's supposed to turn this franchise around. He looks terrible. You know, you blame the kid a little bit, but like, man, we got to figure out a better environment for him to develop. So it had to happen, and it just had to happen because of all these ridiculous things that just kept stacking up.
You don't expect him to get another opportunity at that level, do you?
No, I absolutely don't. I mean, that would be negligence if you were an NFL owner. There's just so much evidence, and I saw somebody else tweet this out too. Like if Urban was out there and they had like an innovative offense, or if they were doing something well that he had brought from the college game or whatever it was, you could kind of justify it, right? Well, the X's and O's are good, but the off field is an issue. Like, there was nothing that was good. The X's and O's weren't even good, right? And that was never really Urban Meyer's strength anyway. It was supposed to be the stuff that he struggled at, which is leadership and coaching coaches and getting, rallying the troops to win. He's won a lot of football games, as he reminded all of his assistant coach. He's won a lot through the years, but he wasn't good at the thing that they hired him to do, so I can't imagine another NFL team gives him a shot.
All right. Las Vegas Raiders. I know we don't usually go into this. We're going to get into Dak here in a second, but, you know, I don't think Dabo's a fit for the NFL either. But, you know, there's all kinds of rumors there. Well, all right, how about this? Bigger picture. Since you guys live and breathe the NFL, and I know you do the draft and so on, but for the most part, do y'all believe that college coaches can make the jump and should make the jump? Or do you kind of believe in staying within the NFL fraternity when hiring? How about that?
I think it's always individualized, right? I mean, obviously a college coach can. I thought Chip Kelly had a good year and a half or so. And I think what kind of hurt him was more player personnel control rather than coaching. And because, you know, he took the league by storm, at least that first year offensively. So I think it can happen. But like if you're gonna hire a Dabo or an Urban Meyer, the thing that college coaches do differently, of course, is recruiting. And those guys are great because for whatever reason, they get the best players in their building, however that works, whether it's coaching their coaches, whether it's them, whatever it is. They get the best players in their building. And then, oh, by the way, they do a pretty good job of developing them, which means they probably have the best coaches around them, and they do a good job of finding coaches who develop players. The NFL is just a completely different animal because the skill sets that make you good in college don't translate to the NFL. Now, they can. Right, you could find a guy that has both. It's just a different world. So I would never say never, but you have to find a guy that has the NFL skills to succeed, not the things that made him succeed, when it comes to the college game.
I like where you're going there, Steve Palazzolo.
You asked something else. What else did you ask? I'm sorry.
Well, I was talking about Dabo and the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know. His comments on paying players and stuff, and then, knowing what the way the NFL's, constructed, I'm not sure that would work, but who knows? Or maybe, maybe Jacksonville tries to pair Dabo and Trevor. Again, owners do weird things. All right, let's go to Dak Prescott. He's in a slump. He played really, really bad last weekend. Things don't look right. You tell me. They can't run the football, and he's not playing well, and it doesn't look like he's getting the ball out quick enough, and he's maybe overthinking it. What do y'all see when y'all go through the film, Steve, on Dak?
Yeah, you called it a slump, and I really just think that's what it is. I mean, players go through slumps, and I think Dak's going through a seeing the field slump. And it's interesting because he made a comment before last week's game saying that he was going through his progressions too quickly, which it usually goes the other way, right? You're too slow to see the field and you're late on stuff. Dak was trying to say, hey, I think I'm going through too quickly, meaning he's not letting things open up on the front side or where he's supposed to be looking. He's not letting guys get open and develop. And then I don't know if that's manifested itself the other way where he's holding on to it a little bit too long. And I think it's like kind of a seeing the field slump. I'd say throw for throw, he's still throwing the ball pretty well, accuracy-wise and all that stuff. Now, he had a few that got away. Like that first interception absolutely sailed on him, gets picked up. I think it was Landon Collins, picks it off. But the seeing the field part of it, that's where, you throw a pick six in crunch time to let Washington back in the game. I mean, those are the things that are tough that you can't have. And Dak had one of those in the fourth quarter against the Saints on the Thursday night game as well, where he just, misread the field in the middle of the field and put the ball in harm's way. So it's really those turnover-worthy plays, as we call them, but those really high-leverage bad plays that Dak has to cut out. So it's not a complete disaster, but yeah, if you have 3 or 4 of those plays per game, that's bad. That's well above where you should be. So I think that's where he's at. I don't think mechanically or accuracy-wise, it's anything's completely off kilter, but I think it's just a little bit of a slump seeing the field right now for Dak.
But all right, so you look at it and say he can break out of this thing, that he and Kellen Moore can figure this. There is a good possibility that they can figure this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, we had someone else at PFF do a whole thread on the good things that Dak did in that game. Stepping up in the pocket, and he's always had that. A little bit of pocket movement and pocket presence and stepping into throws and all that stuff. I just think he's just not doing it as often. So yeah, I think Dak can break out of it. I think they'll be okay overall. They've hit a little bit of a lull here offensively, and then thankfully you've got a defense that can make some plays and do a much better job than they did in previous years. If you're a Cowboy fan, you should be excited that you've got other ways to win besides just relying on Dak, as was the case last year before he got hurt. And then, it just kind of gives him some time to get back on track, which I think he will.
Okay. Steve Palazzolo on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line talking NFL football on the defensive side with Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory. Who's the new dude? Gabriel Blake?
Neville Gallimore.
Okay, that guy too. Tell me, that unit as a whole, Steve, if they can stay healthy, what kind of impact can they have for the Cowboys going down the stretch?
By the way, Gallimore is fun. When I was scouting him coming out of Oklahoma, he was just so explosive, and he flew to the places. He just didn't really know where he was going all the time. But he is a nice little addition there. But man, the three edge rushers now with Parsons, with DeMarcus Lawrence, with Randy Gregory, it gives the Dallas Cowboys so many options. You know, when you draft Micah Parsons as a linebacker, and then all of a sudden he's rushing the passer as well as anybody in the league, that is just incredible. That's unheard of. It doesn't happen. So it gives the Cowboys a ton of flexibility. Parsons could still play linebacker if needed, but now you're talking about a nickel and dime package, you know, when it's third down or when it's a must-pass situation, three legitimate pass rushers that you could put out there and move around and keep offenses off balance. It could be absolutely huge for the Cowboys. We saw the interception, the great play that Randy Gregory made. He's actually having a career year. Really rushing the passer better, I'd say, these last 2 years than he has at any point in his career. DeMarcus Lawrence has always been good, as well, especially over these last few years. And Parsons just incredible with his athleticism and ability to get to the quarterback. So tons of flexibility up front for the Cowboys, and it makes them really, really dangerous defensively.
Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Our friend Steve Palazzolo talking NFL with us. Blake?
Yeah, does Micah Parsons deserve to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation? Not Rookie of the Year, but Player of the Year. I saw a stat where he's tied for second or third in QB hurries, but he's 99th in QB
You're
rush
so in
attempts.
love. It's incredible.
Yes, I would put him in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Again, I think he's got the highest pass rush grade that we've given out so far this year, behind Aaron Donald, of course. But yeah, he should be in that discussion. And look, it goes beyond just sack totals. I like that you used hurries and pressures at least, because that's a more telling stat of how well a guy has played. But Parsons, of course, has the sack totals as well. And I just want to reiterate, like, the move from linebacker to pass rusher just doesn't happen. You know, players don't do that. It's a completely different position. It's a completely different skill set. And Parsons has done it, which is, all the more impressive that he's been able to rush the passer as effectively as he has. So, yeah, I'd put him up in that conversation, especially with, how well Dallas' defense has played, or, how much better they've been this year.
Okay, Mac Jones with the New England Patriots, and they're 9-4, and the other rookies are 7-33. But New England is New England with Belichick. They spent $150 million or whatever it was in free agency, and so on. If Justin Fields was healthy, and if you took Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields and dropped him in with the New England Patriots, do you think that we would see the same kind of production and efficiency if they were in with that franchise with the greatest coach of all time, Steve?
I in year one, I honestly don't know, because I think the Patriots have tapped into what Mac Jones does really well, which is make quick decisions, get rid of the ball, and throw the ball accurately. So even though I liked Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields better as prospects last year, I don't know if they would hit the ground running the same way Mac Jones did in this system. Trevor Lawrence is still not seeing the field great. Fields could get rid of the ball quicker. I don't think that would have been solved just because Bill Belichick is the coach. Now, if you said, hey, give them some time in New England with Josh McDaniels, with Bill Belichick, what are we going to do in 3 years? Maybe I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. But as far as immediate success, I think Mac Jones was, now especially looking back, Mac Jones was most set up for that. And he's, immediately taken to the system, throwing the ball accurately, throwing the ball well under pressure. And I think Mac Jones has just been a really good fit for New England right now. But, there's definitely a chance Lawrence and Fields and even a Zach Wilson still could have been much, better over time in that system.
We're visiting with Steve Palazzolo, PFF.com, Pro Football Focus. He joins us on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line. All right. The Saints continue to win, and we talked to you about this because, one, they're so good on defense, and Sean's such a great head coach, and they got to pull the Jets. So they're winning their way out of the Crash for Corral sweepstakes or even Kenny Pickett at Pitt. This is going to be fascinating to see, Steve, what Sean can do. If he can get like a bona fide dude, or what people consider like Derek Carr, or if he goes maybe with a Gardner Minshew, who I still think is underrated and can play. How do you see it when you think of how good Sean is if he can find another guy at QB, Steve?
Yeah, you guys keep bringing up Derek Carr. I think he would be a real interesting name because I do think that Derek Carr caliber quarterback is probably all Sean Payton would need to get back on top. You know, it's that second tier of quarterback in today's NFL. You know, is Derek Carr the 10th best, the 12th best quarterback in the league? He's probably in that range. So I think any team wants to get it. We call it like the Matt Ryan cutoff kind of. You know, like if you have historically what Matt Ryan's been or better, you just have a much better chance of winning. I think Carr's probably right. He might be that cutoff, to be honest. He's probably right there. If the Saints could get that or better, you know, I think they're in good shape. The other intriguing thing, and I repeat myself a million times on this, I do think that the difference between the best quarterback in the league and, say, the 20th or 30th is closer than it was a few years ago. So it does put, you know, the onus on the play caller and the supporting cast and all that to raise the level of the quarterback. I think you're able to do that a little bit more in today's NFL, but that's where the Saints are also lacking, right? It's not like you're pulling a quarterback into this pristine situation with 3 great players to throw to and all that stuff. Like, they've got work to do. Even if Michael Thomas is back, they've got work to do to create a supporting cast. So I think that's what I'll be keeping an eye on. Is the Saints don't have an explosive group of playmakers, and they've got the question at the quarterback position. I'd be intrigued by going back to Jameis, too, because, you know, if he's healthy, Jameis was doing a pretty good job. I wanted to see how that played out. You know, I needed more data on Jameis, but overall, I think it was a good early return in that Jameis-Sean Payton marriage.
What team are you looking at that could emerge as a real threat going down the stretch? And is that team the LA Chargers?
I think the Chargers are definitely on the list. I think they're going to have a tough time winning tonight with some of their injuries and, you know, playing the Chiefs. But Justin Herbert's playing great football. He has been on the more conservative end this year, but when they let him throw the ball down the field, we saw he made the best throw of the season on Sunday, breaking out of pressure and throwing the ball about 60 yards in the air, right where he wanted it for a touchdown. Herbert could be special. So I think, you know, the Chargers are dangerous. I think the Niners are kind of that hot team because they started slow and then they got all their playmakers back, and you have Kyle Shanahan, you know, tapping into what George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel can do. So it's a great NFL season because of that. I think you could see a 6 seed like the 49ers or the Chargers do some damage in the playoffs because, again, I don't think the difference between the best and the next best teams is really that great this year. Anything can really happen.
Okay, so what direction do you think the Giants go? Are they going to move off Daniel Jones? I know he's hurt right now, and everybody loves some Mike Glennon, but where do you see that going, Steve?
Yeah, and this is where I'm torn on all this stuff, and I contradict myself. Like at one time I'll say, hey, maybe you don't need an elite quarterback because the difference between all the quarterbacks isn't great. On the other hand, I'll say the Giants are probably going to get a new regime, and the new Giants is going to come in and say, yeah, Daniel Jones is the guy. I have to build around Daniel Jones. That's what I want. Because I don't think anybody goes out of their way to go get a Daniel Jones, knowing what we know about him. He's fine. Like, he's an okay starting quarterback, and if he did have a great situation, I always compared him to Nick Foles. Like, if Daniel Jones went on a Nick Folesian type of run for a half a season or a playoffs or whatever, I wouldn't be that surprised. But, man, you've got to do a lot of work to build around him. So I could see a new regime coming in and saying, let's make a splash play for a Russell Wilson, get him into New York, or let's draft another quarterback. Like, I could see that happening in New York rather than saying, yeah, got to build around Daniel Jones. Like, I don't see him being the future there.
Okay, let's say you and I are drinking a beer this afternoon, and I ask, all right, now throw it out to You have to bet $100 on the bar. Russell Wilson leaves or stays in Seattle. Which way are you going, Steve?
Oh, I would throw the money on leaving, and that's without inside knowledge or anything like that. It's more just feels like it's come to between last offseason and this what's going to happen this offseason. It feels like it's just coming to a head there. And Seattle's in a tricky spot where they don't have draft capital to make that roster better. So they might just be spinning their wheels a year from now with Russ back there, an even worse roster, and I don't know if it's going to work there. I'd say I'd throw the $100 on Russ being gone this offseason.
Wow, he's so good. I'd love to see him go somewhere that's fun and cool. Blake, go ahead.
Yes. All right, Steve, you
New Orleans?
Yes, that'd be off the chains. Sean and Russ, get out of the way. Good
Steve
grief.
knows his audience.
or he takes Tom Brady's place, but that's 5 years from now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Blake.
Sorry, really quick, the most important person there is the Saints accountant trying to make that work. But it's possible.
That's accurate. All right, Steve. So you just mentioned Joe Judge potentially. It does seem like that hook is set, and he's going to be gone out of New York. We already have seen John Gruden and Urban Meyer both let go for obviously differing reasons, but those two jobs are now open. Is there anyone else who, and I'm not asking you to put the death knell on anyone, but is there any other jobs that you think potentially might open up in the next few weeks? And, because that's obviously always fun to talk about kind of the changeover every year in the NFL.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's going to be like a full blow up in Seattle. And again, I just don't know if that's what they would want to do or roll it back. Pete Carroll's getting older too. I just don't know if that would be something that they'd be potentially looking into, completely blowing it up there with whether it's with Russ or with Pete Carroll. I don't know where else. I mean, a lot of the bad teams. I mean, the Bears, of course, are on the watch list with Matt Nagy. A lot of the other bad teams, though, have first and second year coaches. So not that will keep coaches from being turnover. But I don't know what the Texans might do. It didn't feel David Culley didn't feel like the most inspiring coaching selection, and I had a feeling he could be a one and done type of guy. And I just don't know how much it was Nick Caserio and who was in the mix there for making that move. So I just keep an eye on the Texans, I'd say, as well.
Real quick, you mentioned that Pete Carroll could be on the move. If Carroll's done in Seattle, does he take another job somewhere? Is he on the market?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know. He's an interesting coach because I think he's a motivator. I don't know if he's always up with the times as far as, fourth down decisions and some of his other stuff. I would be less intrigued right now because you kind of see him get worse as the roster got worse. But yeah, I mean, if you're Shad Khan, you want a guy that's at least going to change the culture and do the opposite of what Urban Meyer did. Pete Carroll would be intriguing to at least get the building on track.
Yeah,
and,
but he would kill Trevor Lawrence's career. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, Pete Carroll's age would work against him there, but he's the guy that would just kind of get the culture on track, and there might be a team intrigued with something like that.
All right. I mean, I know Steve Palazzolo and PFF.com loved last year when Pete Carroll, after the season, said, we just have to run the ball more. Good hell.
That's the answer.
Goodness gracious. Have a good weekend, dude. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Steve Palazzolo on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line. Try a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale this afternoon. Salanukis in Madison has it on draft. It is the number one American IPA in the country. Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. Out of bounds. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Straight ahead, Lane Kiffin Audio talking name, image, and likeness. And he's motivating his alumni base.